Today is going to be about brains, and if you listen carefully, free stuff, okay? I'm here to talk about bicycle safety, bike helmets, and this thing, which we all have, and you'll be able to touch afterwards. I'm Doug Landau. My law offices are the buildings on the corner of Station and Center Street. Anyone here ever go to Friday Night Live? Okay, I'm just up the block, and we see lots of bicycles going by, and rollerbladers, and skateboards, and all sorts of people with no helmets, earbuds, on cell phones, not looking, not stopping, and you know what we call them in my office? We call them organ donors. Riding is fun, okay? It's supposed to be fun. You can cover a lot of ground very quickly. You can see a lot of the town of Herndon. You can see some of our police officers are also on bicycles because they can cover a lot of ground and get to places that cars can't go. You don't use a lot of gas, and you don't make a lot of noise or smoke. So, whether I am riding my bike or walking my bike, I always wear my helmet. Now, who is this guy with the funny-looking jacket? I'm a lawyer, which means I try to help people get hurt. And a lot of my clients have concussions, and a lot of you know about the football players who have concussions, and I try to help people who have concussions like that. And I wear a wristband myself because I had a double concussion over at Worldgate Center 3 years ago, right before the national championships, and I was out of commission for 6 months. It was like walking through Jell-O. It was not a lot of fun. I had a headache, I was tired, and I didn't get released to return to competition for 6 months, okay? And so a barrister is just another fancy word for a lawyer. And I want to prevent you guys from getting a preventable brain injury, because I help people like that, and sometimes they don't get better, and it can ruin their lives. And that's why I sometimes volunteer at the kids' races like the Herndon Triathlon and some of the other Herndon races to make sure the bicycles are safe. And sometimes I get to race here in Virginia, outside Virginia, and even across the world. And sometimes I even get lucky. And when I came back from my concussion, I managed to make the podium at the US National Championships. And in October, you would not have seen me here in Herndon, because in October I was in Australia representing the United States of America as part of Team USA, riding my bicycle with what on my head? Thank you. And running, and hopefully I'll be able to qualify and represent the United States in Herndon again next year. However, bike crashes can happen to anyone at any time. Who here knows someone who's had a bike accident? Okay, I can hold up both hands because I know lots of people. Okay, hands down. This guy's pretty fit. He's bigger than most football players you'll ever see. And even if you're in top shape, even if you're a law enforcement officer, which he is, who trains every day, if you ride your bike, you could crash, even if you're friends with this guy. Who's this guy over here? This is a presidential bodyguard who rides his bike every day for exercise. The man all the way on the right with his wife and his son. And his body made that crash into that car. And I represented him. Okay, he got crushed, the car got crushed, and you can replace a bicycle. Okay, that's his bicycle. You can't put that back together. Glue's not going to work on that too well. All right? Bodies can get broken and heal. Those were his broken legs, and that's him in a wheelchair. But you got to protect your head because your brain cannot be replaced. Who here knows someone who's lost a tooth and got a new one back? Right? Who here knows somebody, maybe a family member, an aunt, an uncle, a mother, father, who had a hip replacement or a knee replacement or a shoulder replacement? Great. Now put your hands down. Who here knows someone who's had a brain replacement? Raise your hands high. You know someone with a brain replacement. I'm going to talk to you afterwards because that's a medical miracle. Okay. There's always somebody. Every time I speak at a school, someone's got a brain replacement. All right. Because your skull is like a helmet. It's important, and you need to protect your head. So, anybody know what's inside this thing? Your brain, right? So if I take off the skull, okay, inside is your brain. Okay? Because there's no blood in it. That's a great question. Your real brain has blood pulsing through it. And so it's a little bit different color. And this one's a little faded also. It's old. It's an old brain like mine. Good question. Is there a lot of extra room in here? It's pretty snug. So I have a question. What happens when you injure your brain and it needs to swell? Where does the extra go? Yes? Yes, exactly right. Because if your brain is like this balloon and it needs to swell, there's really nowhere else to go except out your ears or a hole. And that causes headaches and pain and other problems. Okay? The brain, the skull, once you're no longer a baby, once you're 6th grade, is hard. It doesn't grow very quickly. And if you smash into something hard, the brain can smash into the inside of the skull. And it can get a bruise. And then when it tries to swell, there's no place for it to go. Who here has ever seen a pickle in a pickle jar? If you shake a big pickle in a pickle jar, sometimes the pickle hits the inside of the jar, right? Well, the pickle doesn't bruise, but your brain can. And that's what happens in concussions where there's no blood and there's no fractured skull. There's a bruise on the brain inside, like the pickle smashing inside of the jar. Okay? So sometimes people will fall down and they look okay, but they don't feel well, or they feel nauseous, or they have a headache, or they're dizzy, or they come off the field and they don't know which way to go. It's because the brain has hit the inside of the skull, and there's some sharp parts inside the skull. There's some sharp edges that can cut the brain, and then there's bruising and swelling and problems. So if you're on a family bike ride or bike trip, and does anyone know where that is? Yes, you're all right. It's right by the Dairy Queen, the caboose, the W&OD trail here in Herndon. Use all of your senses. Look to see where the traffic is. Listen, smell, use all your senses, because bicycling is free, but, and I need someone in the front row, bicycle crashes are expensive. How much were this man's medical bills? This is actually a professor from George Mason. How much? 34. That's more than my allowance. That's a lot of money. Okay? Plus, he missed time from work. He's back teaching at George Mason, but he was out of commission for a long time. He was in bed for 2 weeks. He was not at school for 3 months, and he couldn't play for a year. And that really stinks. Okay? So, his helmet actually is this one. So the helmet worked to protect his head, but this helmet's no longer any good. This is another helmet from a client, and you can tell this one is not good anymore, but it did its job. It protected the brain. Okay? So, we have the lights out. So, let me ask a next question. Does anyone know the Xterra SUV? How much do you think an SUV, a truck, weighs, a small truck?
2 tons.
2 tons.
50 tons.
Next, come on, give me another. Yes, you, and Thor. Wait, Thor, what? 6 tons, okay. We all agree they're pretty heavy. One more, the young lady in the pink over here. Come on, any number. Just give us a number. 2 tons. Okay. That is my car, and how much does a bicycle weigh? No, regular bicycle, kid's bicycle. How much do you think it weighs? 20 pounds, very good. That's what my bicycle weighs. Someone else, how much does a kid's bike weigh? Yes, you on the side. How many? 20, 25, and in the far back, 15 pounds. Okay, so between 15 and 25 pounds for a bicycle. So here's the question. In a crash between the SUV and the bike, who's going to win usually? Probably the car. The Xterra weighs 4,092 pounds, and that particular bike is kind of heavy. It weighs 35 pounds. The bicycle always loses. Okay, so you got to stop, look, and listen when you're at the intersections here in Herndon, especially the ones with stop signs and where there's traffic. Who here plays baseball? Okay. In baseball, how many strikes do you get? 16? 4.5? 3, unless you're playing t-ball. Exactly right. 3 strikes and you're out. The same is with the helmets. If you don't wear a helmet, strike 1. If you don't buckle your helmet, it does no good unbuckled. I see people wear them unbuckled all the time because they think it looks cool or because they haven't adjusted it. It does not stay on the head without snapping and clicking the chin strap. And that's why we have the police officers here so that each of you will be fit individually with a helmet that fits you. If we don't have one your size, we'll get you one. That's how important it is to us. Number 3, if you don't make sure your helmet fits. I saw someone yesterday wearing a helmet. It looked like a bun on top of their head. That does no good. Likewise, I've seen someone lending their little teeny brother their helmet, and it's shaking around. They look like a Ninja Turtle. It's not going to do any good if it doesn't fit. Okay? 3 strikes, also for your helmet. Okay? Helmets. You have to be careful what kind of helmet you have. Was it in an accident? You can't glue this back together and wear it. It will not protect your brain. That's strike 1. That's this helmet and the glasses, and that's Beatrice Vargas of our office holding it up so you can see what's what. Number 2, is your helmet coming apart? You see these nice shiny outside parts to the helmets? They hold styrofoam and other material on the inside. If the shiny, nice stuff has come off because you left it in the sun, I don't know, you put it through the washing machine, or you put a blowtorch on it, it's no good. So there's a police officer over in Reston. He's not going to cuff me, but the helmet that we're looking at has come apart. If it comes apart, bring it to us. As long as our label is in it, we will replace it free of charge. You crack it, you break it, it becomes deformed, bring it to us. We want you to be safe. Okay? Don't wear a broken or cracked helmet. Strike 3, is your helmet too old? This looks like a very good helmet. I wore this and won a lot of races in this helmet. I won the Virginia and Maryland Triathlon Series, but it is from April of 2010. And after 3 to 5, let's say 5 years, you probably shouldn't wear it. It's probably getting old. And I actually, if you come up later, and you can come up later and touch the brains and touch the things as long as you're careful, you'll see this has now got some cracks in it, even though it was never in an accident. So this helmet is no longer any good, and neither is this one. They're too old. How about this? Will this help protect my brain in an accident? No. Come on, it was a giveaway at a quinceanera or a bar mitzvah or something. This is useless. Absolutely useless. All right, so riding as easy as 1, 2, 3. That's a picture either from the World Championships, the Olympics. I think it's the Olympics. Every single person in the Olympics is wearing what? Just like the one we're going to give you. Almost exactly the same kind of shape and model. I'm going to do questions in a, yeah, go ahead. I'm not in that. That was from the Olympics in London, and I wasn't there. I was in Australia. Because to make sure everybody's safe, they make them wear the same helmet and use the same kind of bicycle. Because if someone rode a bicycle that was like a unicorn with a horn in front of it, they could hurt the other people. So this makes it fair. If they all have the same helmets and the same bicycles, then it's like the Indy 500. They all have the same kind of car. Good question. Who here has done flat Stanley in school? Knows what that is? Okay. All right. Even flat Stanley, when he goes bicycle riding, wears a very flat helmet because he wants to protect his little brain. Hombre Incredible, Mr. Incredible, wears a helmet when that's at the Great Harvest Bread store on the corner, okay, where they have free samples. And you don't want to be the person who they are taking pictures, who has had a crash and who has had a headache and perhaps a concussion. So what we're going to do is I'll be happy to answer questions. I'll be happy to explain anything about the brain and the skull and the materials we have here. But what's really important is, and the police have come here to help us out once again. We've been at Hutchinson, we've been at Rolling Ridge, Guilford, and other schools. They're going to give you a helmet like this. They're going to give you a sticker, and that way if it gets broken or ruined, if it has a sticker on it, we'll give you a new one that's not broken or ruined. They'll give you a sticker so you can put your phone number and your family's name in case you are in an accident or lost, or in case your helmet's found, they can get it to you. Okay? And they'll give you a helmet, and a bag to carry the helmet home with some information for your parents. They're going to clip these cardboard bits off because you don't need that. And most of the helmets are adjustable and the visor comes off. So if you're not cool with the visor, you don't need the visor. You know, if you want the visor on, keep the visor. It comes off and snaps back on. The important part is that the helmets fit you. And a lot of them are adjustable. The chin straps are adjustable. But if it doesn't fit, let us know. It's okay. All right? But they're going to be helmets. They're all different shapes and sizes. I have no control over the colors and sizes. The Bell Helmet Company is very kind to help us to do this. The Virginia Law Foundation is very kind to help us to do this. And most importantly is that lady there with the sticker on her shirt. If she looks out the window on the bike path or at the Herndon concerts and sees you without your helmet riding your bike, she might send her flying monkeys. So anytime you're on your bike or your skateboard or your rollerblade or your longboard or your roller skates, we hope that you'll wear the helmet and be smart, okay? Because a concussion can last a lifetime. All right, so how do we want it? I would like the officers to come up, if they would, and say a few words. Thank you, Officer Randles.
Hi, everybody. This is my officer friend over here, Officer Sawyer.
Hey guys, how are you?
Okay, guys, so Mr. Landau has just told you some information on why helmets are important when you're riding your bike to protect your brain, right? Okay, please listen, please wear that helmet, and be good role models for those younger ones who are watching you, okay? All right, you guys ready for helmets?